Hey everybody, my name is Jennifer. This is Metatron speaking. I'm going to be talking to you about a message that I channeled from Archangel Raziel. So this is not an archangel that I have channeled before. Let me see what I have for you. So I want to tell you a little bit about him, but I don't think I started off that way. You know what? I'm just going to follow my notes this time because I always have my phone with me. I always write down everything, so I'm just going to kind of follow those along. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so with Archangel Raziel, I've known for a really long time that I have a connection with this archangel, but I get so consumed with talking to like Metatron, basically, that I rarely reach out for, much time to Raphael or all of these other archangels, Sandalphon, like all these ones I've just never talked to. Um, so Raziel is known for having mystical knowledge. He tells me that he is associated with a reddish purple color. So I'm like, here's what I'm doing, because I'm like, hey, what color are you associated with? And I'm like going down the colors of the rainbow, and he's like, no. And I was like, okay, well, when I go down the colors of the rainbow, just tell me which colors are sort of like the colors that you're associated with. And so he chose red and purple, and I'll kind of explain that in a second. But I want to show you this Diana Cooper Oracle card where someone has artistically done a version of Archangel Raziel. Check out the robe, purple and red. So when I saw that, I was like, whoa! I was like, that's pretty cool. So either the artist took that liberty and was tuning into that energy, or she instructed the artist to put him in clothing that way. But I thought it was cool that she had tuned into the same color energy. And so Raziel's telling me red and purple, and I'm like trying to combine them. I'm like, magenta? And he's like, no. um, and so the way I saw, this is gonna sound so weird. The way I saw his color, they were actually showing me two colors overlapping, and they were showing like a magenta, but overlapped in like a lavender color, which sounds really weird. I'm just going to tell you guys that in case you happen to see magenta and lavender together, you'll be like, is this Archangel Raziel? So those are the two I saw together. Um, Yeah. When he was showing me what colors, this is hard to explain. When he was showing me what colors he's associated with, I realized that I had recently seen those colors. So my business partner Susan and I have a Patreon group, and we do a lot of different things in that Patreon group. We do energy work for the earth. We do energy work for other planets. We do a lot of like um, meditations and things that are to benefit our own personal energies. And it was during a Patreon meeting, and Susan was doing a meditation for all of us. And I was closing my eyes, and when I was closing my eyes, it was some point towards like the middle of the meditation where someone hands me a sword that has like flames on it, and the flames are like magenta with that lavender color over it. And so I realize now when I'm talking to Archangel Raziel, I was like, oh, that was you. That's your sword. And so that's like a whole nother side story that ended up being something that was shared with the Patreon group because it was relevant to that group and the work that we do there. By the way, if you are not in the Patreon group and you're curious about what we're doing, come over, come join, come check it out. You can join, see if it feels right for you, and if it doesn't, you can always, step back out. But I know that there are more people that watch these YouTube videos who would get fulfillment and connection out of being part of that group. And so if you're listening right now and you're like, I wonder if that's me, feel free to come check it out. Okay, so Archangel Raziel. So I wanted to feel his energy, and he has of course, he's an archangel. He's an archangel. He has good energy. You're never gonna, be like, hey, Archangel, let me feel your energy, and it be anything other than like beautiful. They're all just like a different flavor of beautiful. So he was very like intense warmth, intense love. He's gentle, though he has a presence. So Raziel feels like he's got some confidence. He feels like he doesn't mind stepping forward. Whereas if you ever interact with like Yeshua or Metatron, they tend to step back. They are not quick to jump forward for things. They're more of a, if you want me, I am here, but otherwise I'm just going to kind of stay off to the side. Yeah, Raziel does not feel meek. I realize, okay, and so this is him giving me knowledge. So remember, this is an archangel of knowledge, mystical knowledge, really. And how I like to think of him, which is probably kind of rude, but how I like to think of him is he's kind of like the archangel version of Merlin. Is probably a way to kind of cross reference. They aren't the same soul. They are not the same soul, but they hold similar responsibilities or purposes. So Raziel is giving me this like intuition or this knowing while I'm trying to feel his energy. And so I say, I realize that he has taught me many things related to being a shaman and working with magic. He has sacred wisdom of all the things that seem so simple and so basic, and yet they hold the answers to all the questions we've ever asked. I am such a curious person, always full of questions, and I realize that he holds these answers. He reminds me of Metatron in this way, because Metatron is a collective energy. Metatron is essentially, if you were to combine all of the archangels, that's who Metatron is. So Raziel, what did I say? I wrote this so strangely. So I said, Raziel reminds me of Metatron in this way because he holds all the answers. No, Raziel does not traditionally assist with past lifetimes or healing trauma like Metatron, but they share cosmos knowledge of fundamental concepts. So the power and the value of like numbers, colors, mathematics. He knows how the body and the soul work together. He knows how to guide you to enlightenment. He has all the keys to all the doors. And so I'm going to actually skip this next part because I start asking him about that flaming sword, which was really specific to the Patreon group. So I'm going to skip over that. And so, and I'm sorry, I have either like the world's smallest cold or like some crazy allergies, so my voice is deeper and you'll hear me like struggling a little bit with it. So I stopped talking to Raziel for that day, and then I came back to him at another point. And in my mind, I was like, I want to channel Raziel, and I'm just gonna free channel him. So when I channel, there's like two different ways that I can do it. And one way is I'll pull a bunch of oracle cards and tarot cards, and I'll use those to guide the message. And so I've been using that a lot lately, but in a lot of ways it can be limiting because there's only so many super creative ways that our guides can use those oracle cards to get messages across. And so I get better information when I just sit there and it's a blank slate and I just try to feel into it. But it takes more energy, takes more time, takes more work. So there's a trade-off there, but it's worth it. So I'm thinking about, oh, I'm gonna free channel Raziel, and I just hear him say, "You can do it." Raziel is encouraging me to channel him without the assistance of oracle cards. I used to always channel this way, but at times it helps the doubting mind to have some landmarks to help guide the conversation. And so I heard him quite clearly, which I don't normally hear guides very much. I normally have a lot of knowing and I see pictures and I put the knowing and the pictures together and that tells the story. And so I asked him, I'm like, is Gabrielle, Archangel Gabriel, is Gabrielle helping you? Is that why I can hear you more clearly than I normally hear? And then Raziel, he's like, no. He says, no, you're just keen. You're just keen on my voice. But when he says, no, you're just keen on my voice, he says it in an Australian accent, which is it was like so random. And most Americans find Australian accents quite charming. So I was just like, that is hilarious. That's wonderful. And so Raziel, his personality is really playful. Like I find him more playful than Merlin, which is crazy because Merlin's always like, lighten up, chill out, play, have fun. He's always telling me those things. But Raziel is like always playing, always joking, always dancing, always singing. And I don't know. Here's the thing. I think this might be my fault because with my other guides, I'm always too serious. I'm always all business. I'm always like, we need to channel. We need to talk. I need to get information. And they'll play around and sometimes I'm open to it, but a lot of times I'm like not open to it, to be honest. So that's a flaw of mine. And so I think a lot of times they probably present to me more seriously in order to be able to connect with me. They would probably be more silly and more playful more often if I wasn't so uptight. That's probably the truth. I'm curious about Raziel. His playfulness doesn't annoy me. Like sometimes the guides keep joking around. I'm like, guys, come on, guys. I need, come on. Time's wasting. Time is precious. And then this is what I say about him. So he's giving me all these little bits of information where I can feel who Raziel is. And then I say, I feel like I'm on the edge of remembering him without him showing me who he is. Like, I've said something like that similar before, where I'm like, I feel like I'm right on the edge of remembering who I am, I'm right on the edge of remembering everything. Right? And they do that to me sometimes, where they take me so close and I'm like, just one more step and the veil would be gone and I would know everything. And they'll do that to me and then they're like, no, just kidding. It's crazy. Raziel places something into my hands. So he puts something in my hands and he goes like this, and he puts my hands like this, and his hands are cupping around my hands so that I can't like open it yet. And so he does that, and I'm like, I know this is a gemstone. I know this. And I say to him, I was like, can I just remember this on my own? like, do you have to keep, it's like they open up like a certain chakra. They're doing what the way we are able to remember or forget things, they are opening or closing a certain chakra. And I'll tell you what, they're never and ever gonna tell us what chakra this is. I'm sure it's some like super tiny, super secret chakra somewhere in our energy. But they're basically manipulating it to give us access or close off access. And so I'm asking him, like, hey, can I just remember this on my own? Like, do you need to keep helping me? Or I don't know why I said that, but I did. Um, and Raziel says, no, that I can't remember it on my own. No, but that does not mean it isn't important. You are blocked from remembering for a purpose. We remove these blocks selectively when the time is right. And then I start having this, and he's playing again with my energy. So I start having this memory of Raziel in a body. So this is like a lifetime somewhere with him. And he is like he's like a skinny black man, somebody that I loved, somebody that I trusted, somebody who was worthy of being loved and trusted. He was a good guy in this lifetime, whatever lifetime this was. He is an archetype. So I consider, and so I'm, and I apologize because the things I wrote down aren't necessarily very logical, but this is just the train of thought based on what information he's throwing into my brain. So it's not super logical. I start saying, he is an archetype, so I consider what energy he is holding. So he's telling me this basically. He's like, "Yo, my energy is an archetype." He's giving me answers to things. Um, it feels unique, quirky, different. He feels like the confidence to be different and be seen. I'm trying to describe his energy, his personality, his archetype. He has been in my energy the past few days, and I found, and so he was in my energy ever since I knew I was going to channel him. He'd been hanging out in my energy, and I was going around the house, and I was like singing songs and like these goofy voices, singing songs, just like he was like, using his Australian accent to talk to me. I'd be dancing. Like, I didn't even care. I didn't care if somebody was watching me dance. And it was very like confident and very like, oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this in full. I'm gonna really embrace this. And so I'm kind of like laughing to myself. And so I'm like looking at this archangel who's like kind of goofy, right? He's silly. He's like a class clown. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, this is the being that houses all the knowledge in all the universe. Like this in this goofy, playful, teenage like archangel. And so Raziel responds to me and he's like, when you say it like, when you say it like, I wrote that wrong. When you say it like that, when you say it like that, it sounds like a bad thing. And so when he says that, he's got this like half smile on his face, like he's joking. He's still feels very confident. He's just being playful with me. I'm like, all the knowledge and all the universe is in you? And he's like, you say this like this is a bad thing. And then I asked him, aren't gods supposed to be like the expert in confidence? Because he's giving off a lot of confidence. And I honestly haven't come across that ever in an archangel, which is hard to explain because all archangels are confident. But Raziel is seems to be taking it one step further than the rest of them. And so Raziel says archangels can be examples of confidence too. but without ego and pride that can get mixed in. And so I'm like, just looking at his energy, and I'm just like, I'm thinking about humility because archangels have humility, and Yeshua has extreme humility. And I really love that about all of them. And so I'm just like talking to myself and I'm just saying, humility is just like fascinating to me. Like, this is something I gravitate towards. I like this. Um, and so I say something to Raziel. I'm like, so what's it like talking to someone who cannot remember who they are? Because I know he knows everything about me, and I'm sitting here trying to figure him out. And I just try to imagine myself in his position. That must be just such an interesting thing to go through, where you're talking to someone and they don't remember they don't remember anything about who they are, but that's got to be strange. And so he smiles and he like touches the side of my face like gently. And he says, "Who you have been before is not who you are now. In the past, those were things you did, but they are all in the past. None of it needs to matter. Sometimes, when a person knows their past lifetimes, it limits their current view of themselves. It boxes them in. I don't want you to be boxed in. I want you to dream. I want you to think of the most magnificent person that could possibly be, and I want you to focus on being that person." And so I have to stop channeling him, because as soon as he said, "I want you to dream," I just started like crying. And so I finished writing what I heard him say, but then I took a break and I came back, and Raziel said, this lifetime that I'm in right now, is a brand new dream." And so when he's saying the word dream, he's like giving off all this energy that I'll explain, but it's making me cry every single time he says it. Um, when he says dream, there's more meaning in the word than how we use it. So this is a hard thing to explain to other human beings who may not have ever experienced this before, but there are times when words are spoken and the words are like radiating all this energy. And so there's the word, like in this case, the word dream. We have all these associations with that word, but when he was using it, he was attaching all these like mystical or spiritual concepts to the word. And so it was much more complex than what he said. And so this will happen when light language is spoken. So all light language, they give you this sound, and there's like no way to translate the words, because it's not like a word for word translation, like, oh, this could mean this or this could mean that. When you're working with like light language from anywhere, um, there's a big fat book. Even a book wouldn't do it. It's hard to explain. There's no way to translate the words, because the words are experiences. The words are energy. And if I use the word love and you've never loved anyone before, you have no idea what that word means, right? So feeling that word versus hearing that word are different things. I'm trying to explain it. I'm doing a horrible job, but that's the best I can do. So when Raziel is using the word dream, let me go back to that. There is more meaning in the word than how we use it. He means that incarnation, what we are all doing right now, we're all incarnated right now. He means that incarnation is pretend. We are asleep right now, and that this is the false reality. And eventually Not very long from now, we will wake up, we will die, and we will go back to the true reality, which is the spirit world. Raziel says, do not let this lifetime be tainted by any other lifetime that has come before. You can choose to release the prison of the past. You can choose to hold your full power in the present. Choose what you want and hold that vision, no matter what goes on around you. You must bring all of yourself to the present. Judgment and fear from the past ties you to the past and holds you back now. Allow your slate to truly be wiped clean. Allow yourself to be free of all the moments that are not this one. You have been draining your power, thinking you need to make amends for something that is no longer. If it happened last week, or if it happened thousands of years ago, it is still done and gone. You are always in the beautiful, infinite present, but you cannot know what that truly means until you learn to master your thoughts. Bliss and peace and contentment are in the present. I can show you. I know you remember already. In the present is where I am, where divine energy is. There is no power sending it in front of you or behind you. It must unite with you in the present to be powerful. There is no past or future. This is why there is no power there. Where you place your awareness is what makes something real. When you think of the past, it makes it your reality, but it is a powerless void where you are distracted but not able to manifest your will. It is a prison. It is a ghost world. The future is the same. It occupies your thoughts, but there is no power in wishing for time to pass or fearing what it will lead or fearing that it will lead to unpleasant outcomes. Connecting to the present connects you to your body and your breath. It connects you to the love of the divine and your own soul. The process of deeply breathing and becoming aware of your body will highlight where you struggle to master your thoughts. You will notice, perhaps for the first time, that you fear that you are wasting time. You may notice that you are critical of yourself, judgmental, or unable to bring your thoughts away from the past or future. You may notice that you are angry or that you are suffering. It can be uncomfortable, especially early into the practice of stillness. Your suffering cannot leave while you are busy doing other things. Facing your suffering is what will allow it to process and leave you. We want to work through you as partners with you. We seek to help you create your life. Through incarnation, you perceive yourself as separate, and you may choose whether to unite with us again. You may choose how often and how much to unite with us. So this is the end of the message with Raziel. He's talking a lot about connecting to the present, and he's talking a lot about using breath, using your breath to connect you with your body, to connect you with divine. He's talking about stillness, and so he's referencing meditation. The version of meditation that's been recommended to me and to our Patreon group is called Zazen, Zazen. And so we are loosely following the rules of that practice, which are essentially to meditate, sitting in a sitting position with your eyes softly open and kind of gazing down at an angle. And there's no music with it. It's in silence. So basically I want to talk about this for a second because meditation came up as something that would be beneficial for everyone during this month of December 2024. And obviously, it's going to benefit you no matter what month it is, but it would really come in handy this month. And my guides are personally pushing me to make sure that I do it because a lot of times I don't. I forget. And I love how I feel when I do it, but I'm not prioritizing it enough. And so they're pushing me towards that. The benefit to meditating in silence is that, and also meditating sitting upright and with your eyes open. I mean, there's tons of benefits, but you're not going to fall asleep and you're forced to deal with your thoughts, right? There's no hiding from it. There's no like listening to the music and kind of just focusing on that because there's just the silence. And so you're just focused on your breathing. You're just doing that. And like he said, it can be uncomfortable at first, but man, it's so good for you. It does so much. And you might feel like, oh man, I just kept thinking about things the whole time. Let me give you an example. Let me tell you about the last time I meditated yesterday. So I'm meditating, right? And it's in the silence and it's quiet and my thoughts would wander away. And I found myself thinking about different events that I had feelings about. Apparently. I didn't know I did. But I would think about things that like made me angry. And these things happened 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Or there was one thing that had happened like last week. But so what my guides are doing is they're like, hey, she hasn't processed her feelings. She hasn't taken enough time to feel what she needs to feel about these events. And that anger is not serving anybody, right? That's a low vibration. It's a block. It's not helping. And so they are allowing me to remember those situations and feel angry for a second to let it go because I haven't let it go. And that's crazy because these aren't huge things. These are just things that happened 15 years ago, 10 years ago. And it wasn't the end of the world, but if you don't allow yourself to process it all, it just sits in you and it's not good for you. So don't criticize yourself about where your mind goes when you're trying to get your mind to shut off because it's a clue. Wherever your mind goes is telling you something. So I was going into the past, and so I was like, whoa, guess I haven't processed those things. Other people might go into the future. They might be like, man, I hope this goes through. I hope this goes right. I hope this, blah, 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 blah. I want this certain outcome. And so you're worried, right? And then so it's just becoming aware of, okay, wow, my brain spends a lot of time over there worrying, and that's not pleasant. And if you bring yourself into the present, you don't have to do the worrying thing. I'm sorry, guys. There's like no way to go into meditation properly in one of these videos because it's just one of those things that there's so much depth to it. There's so much to talk about with it. Okay, I think I'm gonna end with Raziel's message. If you are interested in having messages from your spirit guides, we offer that as a service. So if you want it as me emailing you all of the channeled messages from 4 different spirit guides of yours, I can do it that way. That's called messages from your guides. And that'll be messages that are like super specific to right now in your life. So if you're sitting there going, gosh, I wonder what I should do. I wonder what I should focus on. I wonder this, I wonder that. Your guides will give you those answers within their messages, even though I don't know what your questions are. I just channel what they tell me to write down. If you want to have a service like that where I channel messages for you, but I also have a Zoom call with you, then there's a service called Soul Lessons and Guides, and we can do that one together. So either way, I'll do links in the description in case you're interested. And I hope you enjoyed this message, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.